Hi there, my name is Laura Carr. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and this is a video that you are receiving as part of the Harmony at Home freebie from the summit that was put on by Koichi. And when he graciously interviewed me and we talked about all the fun stuff that we talked about. So this video is to help walk you through this form that if you downloaded, I am a kinesthetic learner. And so I thought it might be helpful to have me walk you through how I put this to use and how I utilize this in my own life, but also with clients. So if you haven't downloaded the video, please stop right now, go download it, print it out, pull it up, however you want to do that, so that we can walk through it together. I'm going to give you a real life example. All right. So this form is what I call the very long-winded cycle of the internal emotional experience. So in the short version, all of us have multiple processes going on with us internally all the time. We are not robots, and there's a lot of different systems going on. So this helps explain and walk you through and slow you down in the process so you can begin to better understand yourself, to help you get to a point of being at choice whenever you're activated. All right, so I'm going to be referring to some notes I did. And so the first little circle here, and I know it's backwards, I think it might be backwards on the film, so I'm sorry, so refer to your form, is triggering event, right? So something happens, we're going about life in our home. We all as parents want the best possible for ourselves and our kids because we love them. And I like to say that my kids have pushed every button I never knew I had. So they are our teachers, our bodhisattvas, our wisdom activators, right? Okay, so triggering event. So what I'm going to walk you through it with no example, and then I'm going to give my example. So triggering event, anything that happens. Running late out the door, kids won't put their shoes on, they don't want to eat their dinner, they don't want to jump in the shower, they talk back to you, you step on a Lego, it's just an endless supply. It has nothing to do with the kids, but you're at home and you get a work call, and you feel stressed about that. Your partner isn't responding to you in the way you want. I mean, again, the triggering event is external, and it's an endless supply of content we have up there. So triggering events, so then that activates in us, we have a body, we are sentient beings in a body, and that body comes with sensations. And so sensations, it's a little tricky, they all interact. So sensations in the body, energy in the body that show up. Heart fluttering, heart pounding, flushing, sweating, nervousness, things like that. Then we go into the next one, thoughts, right? Thoughts in the mind, right? So the thoughts that run through our mind, thinking, all of those different things. That then triggers off feelings, right? How people feel is unique. How feelings show up for us is unique to each of us. I like to, and I give in this little form, there's lots of feeling words, but I like to start with basics, especially for those of us who maybe didn't have a lot of modeling or coaching around how to be present to emotions, how to name and I even identify that emotions, feelings, those two words I use interchangeably. So I start with, my therapist introduced me to this concept. It's really simple little kid words: mad, sad, bad, glad, afraid. They rhyme except for that fifth one. And when I say, oh, sorry about that. When I say bad, I don't mean bad like good bad. Bad like little kid words. I feel bad, shame, right? That's a reference to how shame shows up for us. And so here's the thing with thoughts and feelings. You can't have a thought without a feeling without a thought. Most of us tend to be wired more one camp than the other. Some of us are fairly balanced, but for the most of us, like I tend to be more emotionally driven, and others are more intellectually driven. So you might be more familiar with the thoughts in the mind versus the feelings in the body, or quite the opposite. You might really know what you're feeling, or you might not know what you're feeling, but you feel body sensations. Okay, Then we're going to go to belief systems. This is kind of the hidden, and we get hints from the thoughts, right? But this is deeper family of origin, what we grew up with, underlying hidden beliefs that we tend to not know about. So we'll get to that later. And then behavior, right? Most of us go from, we get triggered, we go to whatever our primary is. So thought, behavior, or we go emotion, behavior. Some of us don't even know that that's happening. Something happens, we just go right to behavior. Oops, right to behavior, sorry, backwards. Okay, so this is, to me, the usefulness of this is to slow down, begin to, so what happens is we get triggered and we react. Well, what we want to do is begin to slow it down. And often we have to do this after an event has happened. You know that whole phrase, hindsight's 20/20? It's accurate and inaccurate all at the same time. But the place being, like, we say, we get activated, something happens, we say or do something really unskillful, and then later we're like, oh, why did I do that? I should have just, no. But when we're activated, we don't have access to the frontal thinking brain. We are being run by the reptilian animal amygdala, emotional fight, flight, or freeze part of the brain. So the tool is only as good as how much you put it to use. So now I'm going to walk you through an example. Okay, so in my house, triggering event. One of the kids, it came to my attention that one of the kids had, one of our sons had lied. So that was the event, right? Child lied. Body sensations. Oh, immediately, just tightness. You know, your face scrunch, tension. My heart's rounding, and where tension shows up for me, the stomach, the back, and the fist, and then the face. And you know, I tend to stomp around and do stuff like that. Oh, jaw too. That's another place of tension for me. Okay, so body sensations, that's how it shows up for me in the body. The thoughts in the mind, so I wrote these out. Here are some of the thoughts that were going on in my mind. How dare he? What else can't I trust about him? Who does he think he is? Doesn't he love me? I'm gonna kill him. And that's not really, but that's just like, oh my God, right? What have I done wrong? I can't trust him. What kind of kid is he? What kind of mom am I? What should I do? How do I handle this? I'll never be able to trust him again. This is awful. And then that just kind of, the repeat goes on and on and on. Okay, those would go in the thought box. Feelings, immediately angry, right? Let me clarify that. Immediately, that's what I'm aware of is anger. So here's what we know about anger is underneath anger is always fear, shame, pain, or a combination of those, right? So feeling bad, terrified, scared, or sadness, fear. So for me, underneath the anger was fear and shame, and a little sad, right? Because I was taking it personal. So I'm mad, I'm angry, rageful, fear, bad, shame. All right, so that's the feeling box. Now, if I'm beginning this, I'm gonna skip the belief system and go to behavior. And I might need some help looking at what the belief system is. So we're gonna skip this for now. So my behavior, right? In this instant, it was not. I actually, in this instance, was able to handle it pretty skillfully. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being my most skillful, it was probably like a 7. So still some ways to tweak. But what I was able to do, but my tendency is to yell. I want to punish. I want to shame them, and I wanted to guilt them, because in our society, our response is when someone does something, quote, bad, wrong, we believe that in order to make someone do better, they have to feel really bad about themselves. But what we actually really know is that when people feel good about themselves, they make better choices. And so, if we circle back around to belief system, what I was able to see from that experience when I looked at it was there's some hidden beliefs that I have based on my upbringing, is that mistakes are not okay. Right? So if you make a mistake, it means you're a bad person, right? And lying is not allowed, right? A good person doesn't lie, right? If I was the right parent, my kid wouldn't, and then fill in the blank, whatever the quote, unacceptable behavior is. If I was raising a good kid, they wouldn't, right? And so those all are intertangled with one another. So my kids are 11 and almost 15. So I've had some practice and I made a lot of goofs. So what I was able to do with this was when I talked with our son about this, I showed intensity, because it was, I believe it's really freaky if a parent's really upset about something and they talk with them in a really like, well, son, I'm really angry that you broke the glass in our window even when I told you to put the ball down. Like, that's just, that's a little crazy. But there's a difference between yelling at your kid and being authentic to emotion that's there. So our son did see that I was very upset, and I was actually very clear about that I found out that he lied. I knew he had lied, and I was taking him, the event that he was at was over, and we would talk about it later. Took some time out. We were able to come back and have a discussion about what prompted the lie, and I was able to share with him my own experiences of times I had lied, and the confusing part about how kind of as adults we, kind of like we speed, parents might speed, and yet the speed limit is, right there written on the sign, and yet we're going 70 even though the speed limit's 65. Is that a form of a lie, right? So we got to talk about these ethical issues, our son and I, and it turned out to be really healing. And you know what? He'll probably lie again, because you know what? It happens. And we talked about, for me, one of the primary focuses of my parenting approach is that the relationship comes first. And so we're both going to make mistakes, and we're always going to come back and repair and rebuild trust if needed. So that's just one example of how I find this really useful to slow down. And for a few reasons, I was just looking at the time because I realized sometimes these can be lengthy, and we, as busy parents, it's hard to find the time to look at this stuff. But to me, it's really important to be aware of the different systems going on and how our past influences how we show up unconsciously in our present, right? And then we feel bad about it, right? Those voices in the head, which I can talk about that in a different video, the voices in the head that, talked us into unconsciousness, then beat us up for the things we did unconsciously. So I will end with that. I hope you find this useful and helpful in your journey towards harmony in the home. Blessings. Okay, bye-bye.